it.
If we don't get no justice, what we want everyone to understand, is that Occupy Minnesota, is all about power to the people. This is not against the government. Because you are the government.
I'm a volunteer, welcoming people to the event. We are accepting donations to help offset the costs of signage, food and water for people, keep them hydrated and healthy, and just basic supplies like trash bags and recycling.
We've come together as a food committee, getting food from every possible way we can by donating time to get food donations. We've gathered money for donations to purchase food. People are cooking food in their kitchens and bringing it down. With this many people, keeping them happy and fed and healthy keeps their morale up instead of going the other way. So that's a big part of it.
So today, we are saying that when we say that it is wrong that the top 1% pay a smaller portion of their income in taxes than do the rest of us, that's not class warfare, that's just naming the problem. And today, you are not just naming the problem, you are fighting back. Thank you.
I want to know that I won't be screwed over when I graduate college and that my degree actually means something.
I am here personally because I have not only seen what is obviously going on in our country right now, but also personally seeing financial advisors that I used to work with take advantage of little old ladies in their retirement funds. And it makes me angry. And between that and what's going on with our government and everything else, I feel very passionate about this.
People are beginning to wake up. People are beginning to recognize that those in power, Wall Street, the corporations, and their paid-off politicians, we're recognizing that they're not going to solve our problem. We're beginning to recognize that they are the problem.
My sign, it's against sales taxes because they mainly only affect the poor, because rich people can pay any kind of tax. So Minnesota doesn't tax food and clothing, but it needs to go farther. Nothing should have a sales tax under $10,000.
I'm here because I just want to support my community, and I feel that this is a really important way to do that. I'm hoping that after more things like this, everyone will someday be able to live more equally.
The revolution means answering your email. The revolution means going to that meeting even after a brain-melting 8-hour workday. The revolution means child care is available. The meeting space is accessible, and yes, there will be food. The revolution means having an organization that people can find out about and get involved with, a functional website, a plan for recruitment and retention. The revolution means business cards. The revolution means constantly reaching out to people who aren't the usual suspects, creating allies and not just leveraging them. It means having a media strategy, because being right is not enough. The revolution means understanding that voting does make a difference, but that voting alone will never change anything. It means understanding that a victory for immigrant rights is a victory for the LGBTQ movement, is a victory for the anti-police brutality movement, and so on. That environmental activism, anti-racist organizing, the movement for public education, and every other progressive movement that's represented here today are all the same movement. And that doesn't mean that every campaign or event has to address or try to solve every problem, but it does mean that we need to listen to each other. We need to support one another no matter what community we come from. The revolution means talking about social justice concepts like a human being. No jargon. No, looking down on people who don't speak the language, who never got to take college sociology classes, who aren't the right kind of socialist, who have never had anyone talk to them about privilege and oppression, who make mistakes. The revolution means making mistakes. But the revolution, never said the word revolution so much in my life. But the revolution also means cultivating awareness. Is everyone in your organization white? Why is that? Do the men speak up more than the women? Why is that? Is not having any formal hierarchy just open up a space for informal hierarchy? Is talking about an occupation while we all stand on occupied land problematic? Is this a winnable fight? If so, what do we have to do? If not, what should we be doing instead? The revolution means asking difficult questions. The revolution is about the process and the product, not one or the other. A campaign that wins at the cost of alienating specific populations or trampling over the ideas or needs of one part of the coalition does not create sustainable change. On the flip side, a perfectly organized event that makes everyone feel empowered and valued but does not lead to concrete action also does not create sustainable change. The revolution is about understanding that sustainable change is not an abstract concept. It means food on the table. It means being able to afford the right medicine. It means having a notebook to write on in class. It means not being kicked out of your home. It means our lives. We are not here today to win some debate. We are not here today to feel good about ourselves. 1,000 people in the People's Plaza is not the end goal. 1,000,000 people in the People's Plaza is not the end goal. The revolution is not just us. It's the people who aren't here. The people who don't live in the metro. The people who don't feel safe around the police. It's the people who don't self-identify as activists. It's the people who are at work right now. It's all of us. We are here. Whether physically or in spirit, to work. We are here to build something together. We are not just here to speak out or raise our voices, but to concretely make our community, local, national, and international, a more just and humane place by coming up with ideas and then executing those ideas. That's what organizing is. That's what the revolution means. Never forget that. Never forget who you are, and never forget why we are here.
My name's Kyle, my stage name is Guante. I'm a rapper and a spoken word artist and an activist and an educator, and I'm out here speaking and just being a part of the Occupy Minnesota movement today. I look at this, because again, the criticism is always that, what do a bunch of people just walking around, getting together, yelling really accomplish? And I think the important thing to remember is that this isn't the end goal. It's like I said when I spoke on stage, like, this is a space for people to come together and figure out what they want to do, how we're going to organize against corporate greed and capitalism and all of the problems that are in this world today. So just being here for, a few hours, just having tons of conversations, meeting people and having debates, it's a really healthy thing. One of the beautiful things about this movement is that it's not a single issue movement, and like, you could trace it all the way back to being anti-capitalist, or you could come back a little, more down to earth and be like, this is against, unfettered corporate expansion, the idea that corporations are people. It could be about campaign finance reform. Like, it's all of these different economic issues that affect people's lives in very real, very concrete ways. And I think, so for me being here, it's all that stuff, and I think for a lot of the people here, it's about making the connections between different issues, not just saying, I fight for Palestinian rights and nothing else, but saying I fight for justice, whatever that may be. One, in terms of you helping the movement, just having more people here and more ideas and more conversations is very, very healthy for everyone. But for you personally, like, me getting into activism, I've learned so much. Like, you learn stuff that you don't learn in school. You learn skills that aren't just political skills, but public speaking, like networking and all that kind of stuff. So it's not altruistic, like, it doesn't have to be because you're saving the world. It can be about you get something out of it too. I think everyone, in my opinion, everyone should be an activist, and I think everyone is an activist. It's just a matter of like turning on, finding that spark that sets you off.
People don't have jobs.
People don't have jobs. People don't have jobs.
They've lost their homes.
They've lost their homes. They've lost their homes.
They're not getting a good education.
They're not getting a good education. They're not getting a good education.
And if you have a great education,
and if you have a great education, and if you have a great education,
able to get a job.
You might not be able to get a job. You might not be able to get a job.
We're handing out flowers to thank everybody for being here. That's where all the roses came from. And then we're also here because, well, I'm here because I believe that people need to stand up and say something, because it's really unfair at this point.
What are the...
In the last 10 years, my family went from being, really well off, middle class, to being completely poor. My dad's went from being a dentist to a yoga teacher, and my mom sold her house by the lakes in Minneapolis and moved to the country because that's what she could afford. And, it's just crazy how things have changed so drastically, and people just, it's like they're not paying attention or they haven't noticed, I went from having my dad being able to pay my college to ending up in 20 grand in debt at the end of it because I couldn't pay anymore.
We need to be evaluating. We need to be adding things that provide sustenance, both in a physical and a spiritual way, all around us here, and then connecting with people around the planet for the same thing.
Right here in Minneapolis, I'm hip-hop artist Illicit. I'm here because we're not gonna take it anymore. Our rights are being taken away, there's no jobs, there isn't even enough to go around because there's just a few people, 1% to be exact, of our population that's holding over 90% of the resources, money, everything. And we are the 99%, and we don't have enough to go around. And we're not gonna take it anymore, and we're doing something about it. And we're not using violence, we're just making everyone aware, and we're gonna do everything we can with this nonviolent movement. The revolution has started. We are here today to say, hey, we are standing up for our rights as human beings on the earth and as protectors of this precious planet.
Hey, I'm Brother Ali, and I'm out here at Occupy Minnesota. I was really inspired by the ideas of Occupy Wall Street and the images that I saw, mainly the concept of people working together in the most, deeply democratic way to shape what the movement is and what the conversation is. And so yeah, I felt like based on the concepts behind it, I felt like it was something that I wanted to come and more than anything just see. I just want to see the people that are here and what they're talking about and what's on their mind, and just be supportive of the idea of people coming together to talk and to make a statement, to make a unified statement about what's going on. I'd like to see something, I know we all would like to see something develop into something more sustainable and something more long-term, and so I think that's why I'm here. I think that today is more so about just people coming together to start the discussion.